Hello, my friends. I am live. We are live. There's 7 of us today in a room full of packages because I'm getting ready for my Romanian trip. A bare face because it's hot. It's hot for California, and it is hot for somebody of my size and of my temperament. I'm hot all the time. If you've met me in person, you know that I'm like this. I am hot. It is hot. Forever fragrant kid. Hello. You've seen me talk to Pep. I was red and hot. Gabriela, welcome from Romania. Don't forget, friends, if you sign in, please let us know all where you're coming in from. And in bloom. Hi, Dan. Paul. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please know that I started a series called Reviewer Rear View. The first such encounter happened with Alessandri, who is a reviewer from Australia, so we could not be further apart. He had contacted me a long time ago, right when I started, because he liked my content and he wanted to do something together. I said yes. We just couldn't figure out what to do together. We tossed around a lot of subjects. We were not completely locked in. And then at some point after, my brother's here. Hi, Lucas from Poland. Anka, hello. We were not able to find something to talk about that we were both happy with. We were not able to find good timing and all that stuff. So we ended up deciding, particularly in the light of all the odd drama that's happening in the Fragcom community nowadays, to create something that would allow people to actually meet the reviewers. There are a lot of conversations talking about whether or not we can trust reviewers, who sold their soul to the devil, and all that stuff. So I said, why don't we interview each other so that whoever wants to watch can learn more about the person behind the review. That's why it's called a reviewer rear view. I made fart noises with his hands. If you've met Pep, you know he's not the kind of person to make fart noises with any part of his body, but that's what happens when you're under my bad influence. That was a long intro. Welcome, everyone. You're back with a Nose, the first and only channel dedicated entirely to the obscure, to the lesser known, to the not yet famous, to the long forgotten items in perfumery, subject to my humble nosy capacity and of course, my personal preferences, but I do hope that I will bring to you some things that you would not possibly, probably, easily find or try to test yourselves. So that's what it's all about. Today, my English is bad because I'm hot. I'm not wearing makeup because I'm hot. I may be stripping because I'm damn hot. And by the end of all of this, I'm going to be melting in a puddle, disgusting puddle of sweat and tears and yucky things like that huge, ugly from Stranger Things. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's just a horror, weird thing made of melted people. So that's what's going to happen today, folks. That's my disclaimer. Let's go. Christy from Virginia. Hello. Yeah, I think I'm going to do more of this reviewer rear view. I think it's important. I think it's important for people to look me in the eye right here and decide for themselves if I'm trustworthy enough to take my recommendations. Anyway, today, the Demogorgon. No, it's not a Demogorgon. It's Demogorgon. It's the other one, the big one. Demogorgons are the little ones that look like wrong people with a face that opens into petals with teeth. I'm talking about the big dude. The big dude made of melted people and melted rats. That's what I'm talking about. That's going to be me That is going to be me. My face is going to open, and I'm going to be made of teeth on the inside. Shadow Master, thank you. All right, so today, if you can bear with me, in my house robe and bare face, we will be talking about Voyage en Mediteranee, trip to the Mediterranean. I think it's very appropriate for when it's hot, even though some of these fragrances I wouldn't necessarily recommend wearing when it's 100 degrees outside. Voyage en Mediteranee comes from a house that you're probably not going to hear me mention that often, but a house that I think at some point and still occasionally creates stuff that is good, that is friendly, that is honest stuff, clean stuff, easy to understand stuff, wearable stuff, and good quality compositionally. So that I decided today I'm going to talk about L'Occitane. For those of you who don't know L'Occitane, L'Occitane is started in 76 as a cosmetic house. Nothing against it. A lot of them started as cosmetic houses. Lancôme, I think, produced cosmetics before they produced perfumes, for example. Not that Lancôme is the reference point, but you know what I mean. La Prairie and, a lot of others. And L'Occitane actually talks about, or the name means, a female gendered person from Occitania. Occitania is a very obscure region, my kind of region, with a very interesting language, Occitan. They speak Occitan. With a very particular language, situated somewhere in between France, Monaco, with some Spanish influences, some Moorish influences. It's kind of like a melting pot of things. And L'Occitane is the name, is a noun, is a common noun that means a woman from Occitane. Like you would say an Italian, okay? Same thing. Occitane, like I said, started with cosmetics and took off because they decided they're going to recondition a steam distiller in the 70s, end of the 70s, when steam distillers were not being used any longer, and recreate processes and technologies of extracting the best of plants and minerals and clays that had been long abandoned. This dude decided he's going to go back to the roots, and that's how it took off. It's interesting that we've been going back to the roots for a long time now, and we still haven't gotten there. It's really funny. Anyway, they became very, very popular because they started distilling their own rosemary and house robe. Yeah, I have tens of house robes, just so you know. Maybe that's going to be my fashion statement. Every presentation, I'm going to be in a different house robe or kimono. So that's the story of L'Occitane. They created a bunch of separate collections. They're quite prolific. Nowadays, they're kind of like I don't even know where to put them, between Zara and Diptyque, I'd say, kind of conceptually. But like I said, accidentally, every once in a while, they create something very good. I would say Eau de Beau, which is a men's cologne, is absolutely fantastic and wearable, and for the price point, I think is very, very, very convenient. I believe one of their older creations called Kumaru is one of the best tonkas you can find, and clean and, like I said, honest smells. So if you find it, the bottle is also very interesting. It's an ovoid. It looks like a long egg, if you want. It's very interesting. Flaconnage and good solid tonka concoction. But the collection I'm going to be talking about today, I think, is the best collection they've done. It's long discontinued because it's unsustainable to keep producing, because the materials they've used are very... Something wrong with my stream quality. I have full signal, my friend. I don't know what I can do. Everything is working fine on this end. I look pixely. If you can hear me, you don't have to see me. That's my... Is everybody else? I don't know what to do. Everything is fine on this end. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? The flowers are gorgeous. Sorry, I really don't know what to do. Sometimes it happens. Blurry but fine. I don't know what to do. Sorry. All right, we'll keep going. This is not going to be one of the most famous or popular videos, but we'll keep going. If it gets really bad and can't hear me, please let me know. Yeah, thank you, Dan. I just don't know what to do. Oh my God. I will ban you from my channels. This person, Daniel, is trying to guilt me for not finding him stuff. All right. Thank you. All right. Today we're talking about Voyage of Mediteranee, which is, I think, the best collection that L'Occitane ever put out. My only regret is that I wasn't able to find who made these. They don't declare the work, the name behind the work. It's something that I sometimes struggle with, but I think is a good thing for new perfumers to not, to be associated with some work and come out at some point somewhere, to judge things without associating it with a big name, because there are a lot of big names who are creating crap nowadays. No offense, but seriously, dudes, come on, get it together. We know what you can do. Go back to your roots. We're waiting. Not naming names, but maybe I will someday. So the collection I'm talking about today is Voyage en Méditerranée. In translation, that means voyage, trip to the Mediterranean. So as you could expect, all the fragrances, and there are only 5 in that collection, built between 2008 and 2011, one a year. I think that's a very, very beautiful, steady pace. It's, easier to respect something that's been worked on for a while, that has continuity, that has solidity, that has sense. Coherence in a collection, I think, is very important. That is, of the 5, because I'm crazy in the head, I own, of course, 3. That's how good I think this collection was. I think I own 3 good ones. One of these is definitely the best of the 5. The other one is either on the 2nd or 3rd spot. The other one is lower down, and I'm going to talk about each of them. The Voyage en Méditerranée collection is focused around 5 ingredients. Each of them is theoretically an elevated soli note. They were ahead of their time, I think, the elevated soli notes. In other words, fragrances that are based on one ingredient, lifted but still very prominent, or prominent enough to be considered a soli note, is now taking off. L'Occitane was doing it in 2011, 2009, 10, and 8. The 5 notes that they focus their 5 fragrances on are Neroli de Nabeuil. Nabeuil is, that's how I read it, that's how I heard it. If I need correction, please let me know. Nabeuil is an area in Tunisia. So Tunisia is on the southern part of the Mediterranean Sea, and they are very very well known for their neroli, Tunisian neroli. We all know what that is. Another one is Jasmine d'Egypte. So it's a jasmine centered fragrance with Egyptian jasmine, which is very impactful, very cutting, I would say, type of jasmine. And the other 3 that I have here, in the order in which I will be presenting them, are Labdanum de Seville, so Sevillian Spanish labdanum, Mimosa d'Esterel, Esterel being part of the French Alps on the southern border of France. Actually, Esterel, as far as I know, is a volcano. So there you have it. Mimosa from the volcano, straight from the tar pits of Esterel. And where are you? And Immortelle de Corse. So Immortelle from Corsica. I think Corsica, right? In English, is that how you say it? In any case, these are the three that I will be talking about today, and I order them as I like them and as I think they are valuable for perfumery. If you look them up, you will see that unlike other things from L'Occitane or any house, these are constantly beating ratings, and everywhere you look, they are 4.3, 4.6. I mean, seriously, on Fragrantica, on Parfumo, on base notes, where do you see such ratings? All of these in this collection, or at least these 3 out of 5, are rated incredibly well everywhere, which gave me a little bit of confidence to talk about them to you. Not that I'm missing confidence, but you know what I mean. When you present a whole line or a big chunk of a line, these things do matter. So you can look them up. Hi, Leo from Chicago. Fatty Boombalati. Oh, I've never said it out loud like this. From Atlanta, welcome. Mihaela from Romania. And Raluca from Italy. And Anita. Let's talk about the flaconnage a little bit. Not that it's very important, but if you never lay eyes on them again, maybe it's just good to have in the library of information right there. The bottles all look the same. The bottles are all 75 milliliters. I've seen some fakes of these, or people are trying to sell them saying they're 100 mils. They're not 100 mils. They just look big. They are all. Sally, got it. I think it's a fun name. But good to meet you, Sally. They all are 75 milliliters, so keep that in mind if anybody's trying to sell you, as it happens quite often with these and with the Keiko Mecheris, the initial editions, the ones that are transparent and rectangular and straight and white clear bottles. Everybody's trying to sell those as 100 and price them as 100. They're not. Those are 75 as well. Just as a bit of information, practical advice. Pep didn't want to say it. Pep didn't want to do a lot of things, but I made him make fart noises with his hands yesterday. 2 days ago. Yesterday? 2 days ago. It was awesome. And, of course, he lost the recording, so it will be forever gone. It was a fun talk. We talked about a lot of fun things. The bottles look like this. They are supposedly projected to represent a wind rose, and the tip on the top. This is, a, what is it called in English? Bussola, the thing that helps you find north. What is it called? Compass. Jesus Christ. I told you my brain is not working. It's too hot outside. This is supposed to recreate a compass. This is good quality, heavy cap. The bottle presents the name of the collection on a side. You will see, pardon, Voyage, Mediteranee, trip to the Mediterranean, and the name of the fragrance is on the bottom. Mine are first edition of each, so it won't say Mimosa d'Esterel. It would only say Mimosa. The later editions say the full name, Mimosa d'Esterel, Labdanum de Seville, and Immortelle de Corse. It does look nautical. It has the four. I am really dumb today. I'm really dumb in the summer. 4 points: northeast, north, south, east, west, Cardinal points. Jesus Christ, it's very hard. I am really sorry. Thank you, Dan. Cardinal points. Yes. So they are embossed on the bottle as you see, like this. It's very heavy, very compass rose. Thank you. Very heavy, very hefty, very good quality, everything. And I'm going to show them together again. If you are missing the sticker on the bottle, on the bottom, that happens quite often. Please note that the colors are different for these as well. The Neroli is lighter. The Neroli in a really cool travel case. And the Jasmine, I think, was even lighter, but I don't know how they aged. The first time I saw them was back then, so I have no idea how these are colored outside of this set of three. But these three are different, like this, as you can tell. It's a kind of like a brown mauve orange. This is yellow, deep orange, and this is a very like green yellow. Sersheva from Romania. Valentina says, the chat is working, but the filming is not working. Am I really stuck on all of your screens? I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. My signal looks like it's full. Maybe, I don't know. Everything looks fine. Everything looks like it normally does. Huh. Here's fine. Got it. All right, folks, let's start talking about the fragrances. I will address them in the order I think I prefer them, in the inverse order I prefer them, and with pain in my heart, I would say, because I did chase this the longest, and I did yearn for this the longest, and I paid the most for this. The third place in this top of three is Labdanum de Seville. Now, Labdanum de Seville is a balsamic. It's a very, very, very clean, clear, honest, and beautiful amber. Don't get me wrong. This is fantastic. It's a fantastic concoction. It's a very clean labdanum. It's mixed with, I would say, what I think is rock rose, which is in the same family as cistus, but it's purple flower and it's honey-esque. So it doesn't go into the balsamic, the resiny, sticky, gluey type of smell. It goes more into the orange honeycomb kind of smell, although still a bit floral, still a bit recognizable, and still kind of associative to the labdanum flower. But this has a beautiful benzoin. I would guess this has a little bit of a fir resin, because there's a little bit of a coniferous note, but very, very deep down. There's vanilla in this, so the amber is very clean, clear, like I said from the beginning, very honest. All three of these fuse with the skin, which is something I absolutely love in a fragrance. I'm searching for in a fragrance, and I crave, makes me crave fragrance. The fragrances that stay and plane over your skin, somehow compact but don't get warm, I don't trust, and I find that more and more often in newer releases. Yes, all of these three are gone. They're all discontinued, unfortunately. But L'Occitane, there are plenty of stores everywhere. L'Occitane was very popular in Europe, super popular in Europe. They come up for very low prices. Nowadays, they're like $200 a bottle. But they come up because they're L'Occitane. And people are like, seriously, I paid $30 for this on a sale Sunday. You know, I'm not. Keep an eye out. Look for your local carriers. Not all L'Occitane is sold in L'Occitane only stores. I think they have contracts with other carriers as well. What I'm saying is, if you see it in a local pharmacy or in a local perfumery on a back shelf somewhere, you might have a chance to find it for less, and do buy it. If you don't like it, somebody else will. Don't let it just sit there unused, unloved. Okay. And keep an eye out. You might see it in, I don't know, Goodwills. You might see it in, secondhand stores, donation, church sales, whatever, wherever you go, you might see them. Do not pass them over just because they're made by L'Occitane, because these are fantastic. They're very, very good. So apart from the Labdanum, apart from the rock rose that I was talking about, apart from the benzoin, vanilla, there's a little bit of I sprayed all of these, of course. There's a dried apple smell. I think this has been picked up by other reviewers, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I didn't check it again. But there's a dehydrated apple tinge that saves it from being cloying, saves it from being like very typical balsamic, and takes it more into, yes, I can wear this on a boat. Going back to the yacht conversations, on a yacht, off a yacht, going to my personal yacht and all of that stuff. This could be worn in heat. For some reason, I don't think, it's only a winter or a fall smell. There's also a little bit of vetiver that is slightly smoky. It's more of the woody, rooty kind. I don't know why I'm smelling it in the bottle. The bottle is not very different from the skin, but on the skin, it becomes fuzzy. It becomes a little bit musky, very, very tinily musky, and it's very fused. Again, we're going to the Demogorgon. It's like those aliens that come and stick to your face, and then that's it, because they're on the outside and on the inside, kind of a thing. This is such a weird analogy. Sorry. This is one of those. It fuses very beautifully. It infuses you, and it stays. For those of you interested by performance, these are not beast modes. No panties will drop unless they're your own. I don't know if you love yourself that way. Face huggers, thank you. They don't scream at anybody. They're very, I don't want to say intimate, because a lot of reviewers use this word to talk about fragrances that you can't smell. It's not like that, but it's intimate in a way that it's like you but better, kind of a thing. All three of these are kind of like that, and so is Kumaru that I mentioned, also from L'Occitane, that is nowhere to be found. They have a quality of making you better and becoming you, kind of a thing. But like I said, they're all very honest fragrances. They're all very clean fragrances. They're all very easy to understand and easy to wear. There's nothing sophisticated. It's just very good execution. No idea who made this. Don't remember the second skin, kind of, yeah. Don't remember the year this represents. I think it's 2009, so it's one of the first. Mimosa is the oldest. I think that's 2008. And we're going to talk about it next. And that was Labdanum de Seville. I haven't met Labdanum in this type of quality before. Not quality as in expensive material, but this type of application before. This is very clean. You don't smell the alcohol. It's literally like putting that thing on your face. And that sounds bad. It's like rubbing yourself with the rock rose plus some balsamic, some resins. It's interesting, but not revolutionary. And it's very, very comfortable. So this is Labdanum. I know of the 5, this is the most preferred, because people who like resins, they like all the resins. I'm a resin girl myself. Woman. I'm no girl. But of the three, I think this could be easier to replace if you were to find something similar made by a different house. And that, I think, is the main criteria for organizing these the way I did. So that is Labdanum de Seville, a very beautiful, very intimate, very easy to wear, very well blended, and very pure Labdanum. The next one I'm going to talk about, let's drink some coffee for the brain. The next one I'm going to talk about is Mimosa, Mimosa d'Estoril. Like I said, for those of you who are not here, Estoril is a mountainous volcanic range that nobody really thinks about in the southern part of France, touching the Mediterranean Sea. And Mimosa is a plant with very fragrant, very powdery, very yellow, very flowery, and very foo-foo flowers. If you know me, you probably know what I mean by foo-foo. But just to make it clear, mimosa does not come from a drink. The drink you drink as mimosa, those of you who drink mimosas or bottomless mimosas, because that's a fad in the United States, is a drink. But it doesn't come from a drink. The name of the drink, because it's champagne with a little bit of orange juice, the name of the drink comes from the plant. The plant is a larger family of plants. They're not very well developed. They're closer to ferns and coniferous plants than they are to, say, apples. So they're kind of like a primitive, closer to the primitive end of the plant spectrum, plant kingdom, floral kingdom. One of the most famous plants in the mimosa family, and this is your hashtag did you know for today, is called in Latin Mimosa pudica. Pudica means prude. Mimosa pudica is one of the very few touch sensitive plants in the world. In other words, if you touch it, it goes like this. Sensitive shy, if you want. That's how it translates in English. So Mimosa pudica is one of the most famous plants in the mimosa family because it reacts to touch. If you touch its leaves, it kind of like goes like this, like that. This mimosa that has a perfumery application does not come from Mimosa pudica. It would be hard. Can you imagine picking those flowers in a tree that kind of goes like, it's almost like you tickle it, right? Yes, mimosa is a big family, somewhere in between a bush and a tree. But the one that has perfumery applications is a tree. It does not steer away from touch. It just sits there and lets you pluck it. And the flowers are inflorescences. So English is very hard for me today. I apologize. Let's keep going. The flowers come in inflorescences, groups, big groups of small flowers. The flowers themselves are bright yellow. I don't have a bright yellow here, but if you look at the live chat, your name is going to be colored in that bright yellow, kind of like this. This is the back of my phone. It's a green yellow, but very intense. Very similar, I think, in tone with the color of the fragrance if you were to concentrate it a little bit. And they're fuzzy. No, I'm not sure I'm not having bleach instead of coffee. Why? Am I getting whiter or am I getting dumber? You trying to tell me something, Dan? Say it, man. The flowers are fuzzy. They have a lot of stamen, which is the male part of a flower. Those things that carry pollen. Oh, yeah, I didn't get it. See, I'm dumb. I'm getting dumber and dumber. So I answer myself. Sorry, I can't take when it's hot. The fuzzy parts of the flower, the ones that carry the pollen, make the whole thing very, very, very fuzzy. It's like the belly of a bumblebee, fuzzy. It's hairy. It's like a tarantula hairy flower, but prettier and sensitive and half shy. The smell of a mimosa, if you've never smelled it before, is very floral, somewhat green, and very powdery, I would say, but not in the lipstick or powder, face powder, talcum powder, more in the what powder? I don't even know how to categorize this smell. It's a green powder, if that makes sense, but it's very floral, and a little bit sour, I would say. Fairy dust powder. Yeah. But the way you recognize mimosa in fragrances is that mimosa usually makes things sparkly. I don't know if it's our personal association with the champagne I was mentioning earlier. Yes, it is a little bit milky. True. Lucas, how would you describe this? Brother Lucas is a fragrance evaluator, and his nose is like nobody else's, and he remembers pretty much everything he smells. So if you could help us describe this, I would be forever grateful, and I'll buy the next mimosa for you. We'll drink it together. Mimosa de Seville is a very simple construction, I would say. But I would also say that is one of two fragrances that describe or replicate the mimosa smell the best. I have to think about it. I mean, there are a few, but this one is very, very loyal to the natural smell of mimosa. So if you're into that, if you're trying to replicate it, please try to give this a nose, or I can make some samples and send them around the world. You tell me, because it's very, again, powdery, a little milky, very flowery, a little bit green. There's a little bit of sharpness from some violet mixed with violet leaf. It does have fizziness, like I said. It makes me think of what's left after you made wine. If any of you have made wine and pressed the grapes with the pits and the seeds, there's a little bit of a tanninic in the back of your throat kind of a smell, little bit oily but fizzy at the same time. So think about an elderberry syrup with fizzy water drink kind of a thing. I think that's a fairly good impression of how textural and how fizzy and how floral this is. So I guess I would put it in that kind of category. It doesn't remind me of anything in particular. Maybe I know Persian silk, but they don't have much in common. And the Persian silk is beautiful, and I think they're trying to replicate it conceptually in perfumery, because it doesn't really, like you said, it doesn't really have that much smell, but it's beautiful to see. So I think they're now associating it with smells that have more to do with like a cherry blossom, for example, than it does with mimosa. It doesn't smell like anything in particular, but I would say I tested a pure perfume of the first edition's Champs-Élysées, maybe from Guerlain, but that is very metallic compared to this. This is sunny, this is warm, this is happy, this is fizzy, like I said. It's not perfumey at all. It smells a little bit of dust. Mimosa is dusty. I think the other mimosa, because I mentioned too, is the old mimosa from L'Artisan Parfumeur that's been long discontinued. discontinued, called Mimosa pour moi. But these two somehow managed to capture the mimosa smell. I don't get much chemical backlash. I don't get much screechy anything that bothers me. This doesn't have too much going on, apart from what I've mentioned already. Probably some aldehydes in there, sunny things, and I smell a little bit of benzoin. Very little. But there you have it, Mimosa. Mimosa d'Estel from L'Occitane, number 2 in my top 3, because I only found 3 of the 5. Otherwise, I would probably have the 5, because I'm crazy in my head. That's not working. Let's drink some more bleach, because we're moving to my favorite. To the one, to the only, to my favorite Immortelle application, period. Even though I do love Immortelle and I'm seeking it and I'm finding it, and I have a love-hate relationship because I don't have good memories with Immortelle. They involve being hit by a cow in early childhood and child labor in the middle of nowhere in countryside Romania. But that is for a different time. Right now I'm drinking bleach coffee. I'm melting in my office on the internet, live with you from California. And the last but first in my top is this Immortelle de Corse. Then the color of it is, in real life, is orange, very bright. Oh, yes, I can. There are a lot of stories I can mention, but won't go into for now. I don't have time. This is Immortelle de Corse. This comes from, theoretically, or representing Corsica, which is an island in the Mediterranean known for a very interesting combination language between Italian and French. As you know, there are 10 known Latin languages. Some of them are dead, like the Dalmatian, formerly known as the Dalmatian language, but some of them live today, and they are weird combinations that nobody understands. I speak a Latin language. I understand most of the other Latin languages, speak French, speak English. Pardon, that was a brain fart. Speak French, speak Spanish, speak Italian, understand Portuguese. But this Corsican, nope, not a word. I even can understand some Sicilian, which is a dialect of Italians. I understand some of the weirder dialects in Spanish or in French. But Corsican, nope. It's difficult. It feels raw. It sounds old, like an old development of a language. And the whole island of Corsica is the same. Most beautiful waters all around, but it's arid. It's harsh. It's how you would imagine in Game of Thrones the Ironborn to be, because they're people of the sea. They're salty. They're crusty. They're tough. Their music is tough. Their language is tough. And what grows there has to be tough as well. It's kind of interesting to go into the geopolitics of a place and to see how that is replicated. Not that L'Occitane necessarily did that in perfumery representing Corsica, but maybe they did, because in this case, they kind of work together. This is not necessarily Immortelle flowery dry. This is boozy. This is one of the most delicious boozinesses I've met and liked and didn't screech on my skin. It's very soft, boozy, and it has tobacco. I think it has tobacco, the pipe wet, condensed, unflavored tobacco, but I also think it has tobacco flower. I would be very, very curious to see if anybody else picks this up. Actually, I'm very, very curious to see if any of you have tried this before, because this is filled with stuff. There are Immortelles. Immortelles are another yellow flower, similar to Mimosa in that there are green, there are powdery factions, nuances to the smell itself. Immortelles are also bitter. In certain combinations, Immortelles read oily, particularly when they're blended with honey. And I think in this, they are blended with honey to the point where if you watch, for example, a Scotch evaluator, a Scotch tester, the way we test fragrance, there are people who test wines or scotches or other things that have to do with taste and smell. There's a lady that I absolutely adore. She's from the South. She's a Scotch tester. That's her job. Her job is to evaluate scotches, whiskeys, rye in this category, malts, and she has a few episodes in which she describes very clearly the property of pouring, how it pours. Some alcohols pour, if you pay attention, when you pour, they look like they're almost oily, and they create little beads on the surface before the surface tension breaks, and then they dissipate and get incorporated in the body of the liquid. They're little beads on the surface. That's the impression you would have with this. If this would be poured into something, into a glass, into a recipient vessel of some sort, that's the impression you have with this, that the liquid is so condensed and so together that it would physically form shapes, 3D shapes that it shouldn't. It would form beads on the surface. I haven't really met a lot of fragrances like this. There's one other, but I will talk about it separately because I think it's one fantastic niche that you can still buy, and I'll save it for next edition. This, like I said, has that bitter green, flowery, powdery, oily, almost Immortelle. I'm drooling. Immortelle smell. It does have honey, like I said, or beeswax, and together they create this idea of texture the way I described it. There's some benzoin in this as well. Maybe there's benzoin in all three of them. I feel it in all three of them. And this too, just like Labdanum, I feel a little bit of fir resin. When I say fir, I don't mean fur, animal fur and animal oils. I mean the coniferous tree called fir. When it makes resin, that resin is sweet as well, but terpenic at the same time. If you have other coniferous trees around, when some of them are like decorative ones, they make little cones like this small that are very sticky. That's the kind of smell I am talking about. It does smell like terpenic. It does smell resiny a little bit, but it smells sweet coniferous. It's almost like syrupy coniferous smell. There's a little bit of in Labdanum, and there's a little bit in this as well. It's dusty at the same time, hot. It smells like a hot desert, kind of a heated up stones, hot stones, if you want. There's a dusty, petrichor kind of notion to it. I put it closer to heart because I didn't have places to spray. And this is in my bosom today. There's a little bit of muskiness. Not the same as the other two. Well, the Labdanum, because that one is a little bit more florally cleanly. This is more in the dirtier, wet bottom type of musk combination, whatever musks they put in here. There's a little bit of saltiness, so I would guess it takes me towards maybe like Cetilox, something like that. I don't know if it was used back then, but Ambroxan and them were. Ambergris, I doubt it has it. They were expensive when they were launched. These were not necessarily cheap. They're not Bed Bath & Beyond. but I doubt there's any ambergris in there. But there's an impression of ambergris because it does have a little bit of saltiness and the sweet, weird, salty chocolate poop mix that one would associate freely. Waxy too, with ambergris. So this does have the waxiness, waxiness. If TK Maxx brings these, please get your hands on them. You might not like them or use them or work for you, but I assure you a lot of people would appreciate it. And it's an investment because you can always, always, always swap them for something you actually want. They're hard to come by, but they do show up. They're not impossible to find. They're not like some of my other fragrances I presented before. I think there's a little bit of rose in it as well. My nose is shutting down. And probably some waxiness with a Boston acid. Yeah. I think there's some rose in here as well. And a little bit something green sharp, like a some leaf of something. I would say tomato leaf around that area. It's not quite cassis. It's not quite sharp, as sharp as cassis would be. It might be mousse du chêne, a little bit of oak moss, maybe. But it doesn't come through very, very pregnant. And again, that wine quality. It's very pressed wine plus broken grape seeds, little bit of orris, I think, just a tiny bit. Makes me think of some of the stuff that Victoria Minia was doing. Ginestet Botrytis has that kind of, it's more towards dessert wine and into vermouth, into rum kind of a thing. Late to the party, we're talking about Voyage en Mediteranee from L'Occitane, which is a long discontinued but very, very beautiful collection, I believe. And this is the last one, and we're almost done. So that was that's about it. Benzoin, I think this might have labdanum as well, which is interesting. I was talking about the consistency in collections before. I'm actually thinking about fashion collections or, jewelry collections or whatever collections. Usually you have one recurrent element that carries through the collection and shows a bit of either identically or an evolution throughout the collection in every single item. And that's what brings them together. That's what makes them cohesive. A lot of the things that I mentioned are comprised in these through and kind of carry through all three. Just think about it. I rarely feel this, and if I presented collections before, I don't remember ever having this type of impression and this kind of read to the nose. Rock rose is not a rose. Rock rose is if you look at it, it looks more like a very tall poppy flower, the leaves of which almost look like succulents. So it's an odd plant. The stem of the flower is very tall. It can come up to your waist. Usually they have one flower on the stem, and that's it. They don't ramify, they don't anything. The stem is quite bare, but every once in a while they have these pseudo leaves that almost look like beads on them, and on the floor, on the ground, they have leaves that, like I said, make you think of succulents, not a regular plant. So that's what a rock rose looks like. The color is bright, almost like neon. I have something here like this, neon purple, this color, while labdanum is paper white or sometimes slightly yellow. But they both kind of look the same. So the flower, I think it has 5 petals, but it almost looks round, and it's very, very soft. You feel like if you touch it, it's going to bruise, kind of like a poppy. Labdanum, like I said, the flower is light colored, but inside there's closer to the center, there's a darker area. These ones kind of the same, but like I said, they're very bright neon purple. That's the rock rose. That's the rock rose that has any application in perfumery. There are other species of rock rose, and they're very short, but they're also this kind of like purple, hot pink around there type of color. So they're not roses at all. They're a completely different family of plants, and they smell like honey, like a little bit like propolis, like honey, like beeswax, like bees, like yeah, about there. That is it, folks, for today. This was the Voyage en Mediteranee collection from L'Occitane. And from that, I've presented, and you've stuck with me through all of my English paralysis and drinking bleach. Sorry, I told you I'm very dumb and barefaced because it's hot. I can't wear makeup when it's hot. I'm going to melt. And these were, in the inverse order of preference, Labdanum de Seville, Mimosa d'Estel, and the one and only Immortelle de Corse. And that is it. Thank you, folks. Tell others. If you haven't subscribed. This is the marketing part. Like, share, whatever you feel inclined to do. Tell others. And keep in mind that I'm trying, for those of you who asked, to start a 3-minute review series of all the other stuff that I have that is not interesting enough to review by itself for an hour, but it needs some space because others are not talking about it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start 3-minute reviews. I think I already posted one. Tell others. Kisses. Stay cool. Stay sane. I won't make it 3 minutes. I did do it once. I think you'd be very proud of me, guys. I did it once. And that's it. Keep it kind, but keep it real. And I'll see you next time. Let's see. And where is it? And 1, 2, 3, boom.